Hi, I'm Warren Sprouse. I'm the host of the Bible Forum here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. right here on thebibleforum.net. Join us. We'd love to have you. I want to talk to you about the events in Charleston, South Carolina this week. This week being June, what would it have been? June 12, 13, 14, 15, something like that. Where a young man, Dylan Roof, calmly walks into the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church on Calhoun Street in historic Charleston, South Carolina, with a congregation of about 11 souls readying themselves for a midweek Bible study and prayer. He sits in that church with these folks as the pastor delivers his midweek message, sits there for about an hour before opening up with a .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol. A pistol that the news reports indicate he had to reload twice. In the end, 9 folks were dead. 1 child survived by lying still, as her grandma told her to do. And 1 woman was inexplicably allowed to leave so that she might be able to tell other folks what happened. What did happen? Well, first, no one in that congregation had a weapon. That's the first thing. And if they had, Dylan Roof would be dead, and most of those people would be alive. A gun in church? Yeah. Are you not paying attention? People have been walking into churches for the last 15, 20 years doing this kind of thing. The last one I remember vividly was the fellow who walked into a church, not his own, didn't know anybody in there, walked right up to the pulpit and shot the preacher. That put a little dent in my mind. And the guy wasn't dead. He ran down the side of the building, the church, to get out. The guy shot him again. That's when you go downtown and get you a permit to carry a weapon. I'm a pastor, and I take that calling seriously. I would not be able to live with myself if there was something I could have done to stop something and I just chose not to do it because, well, you know, people might think this, people might think that, it's never been done before. Listen, our culture is officially anti-Christianity. It's not just not Christian anymore, it's anti-Christianity. And anybody who takes a purely biblical view of life is now fair game. Thankfully, it's usually just talk, or it's spray paint, or something of that nature, or it's text, or it's emails, or it's something to aggravate you. But South Carolina allows you to carry a weapon. I have a South Carolina carry permit. I understand from the news, and I hope the news guy was wrong, that in South Carolina, there's a law that says you can't take that gun into church. I hope that's not true. It's not true in North Carolina. In North Carolina, if the powers that be, the authority in that church, says you can carry that gun and you have a permit, you can carry that gun. And if I've got a police officer, a retired police officer, I've got somebody in my church who's used to all this stuff, and they say, you know, yes, please do. As long as you have a permit, please do. But let me know, because I don't want to get in the crossfire. People with gun permits are not the people you read about going around shooting people. They know, they've been taught when and where they can use that gun. They know that if they ever pull that trigger, right or wrong, even if they're in their total right, it's going to be horrendous. They're going to go through a whole mess, not the least of which is going to be on the news. But they may have to go through court cases, they may have to prove this or do that, surrender this. It's a whole mess. The pundits and the experts are all pointing in every direction at once. They're calling it racial animus, they're calling it drugs, they're calling it a mental disorder, and in the end we'll probably find out that it was all of the above. Because this is a sick and dying culture, we're going to see more of it. Why? Well, because children are not being trained. They're only being raised, and that just barely. The family structure is non-existent. Absolute morality is a thing of the past. It's been relegated to the ash heap of the Dark Ages. Have you seen the pictures of any of these shooters lately? The Adam Lanzas up in Connecticut, the Kip Kinkles in Springfield, Oregon, Jesse Holmes, the kid who shot up the Colorado movie theater, now got red hair. Jose Reyes, a 12-year-old who killed a teacher and wounded 2 classmates in Nevada. And do you remember Columbine? You remember pictures of these kids? And that's what they were, kids. Most of these are children. 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old children. And they look like they're not home. They don't look normal. And the reality is, they're not home. I don't know if it's drugs. I don't know if it's the internet. I don't know if they're smoking something or they're just psyched out on something. But there are kids, young adults that just have a totally different view of life. And they didn't get that from a Judeo-Christian ethic.